I'm in the back of the house. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. And thank you for listening to Teaching Band from the Beginning. I'm your host, Tim Basil. And as always with us is our co-host, Olivia Spell. Olivia, how you doing?
What's good, Mr. Basil? I'm hanging in
No,
there, man.
nothing is good. Are you handling the quarantine?
I tell you, some days are better than others. It's
Right?
nice. It's interesting to be on a pseudo spring break, quote unquote. I guess that means
Can't wrap
this
my
is
head around what it really is, right?
right. That just really means this is kind of the first conference call like thing I've done this week, as opposed to doing like three or four a day. So that's been nice. It's been a nice break from the online scene, if you will.
I'm not handling not having a schedule. Not having
Ah,
a schedule
No.
is really affecting me. I'm sitting on the couch a lot.
a
And
lot. Yes,
it's fun for like the first hour, but then after that it's I don't know, it's weird.
absolutely.
But anyway, so this episode we decided we would talk about something very elusive to a lot of band teachers and a lot of teachers in general, the um, national board certification. And so we have with us, joining us today, our local expert on national board education, is she's the band director at Archer Lodge Middle School here in Clayton, North Carolina. Like to welcome everybody. Please welcome Miss Paula Hales.
Hey!
Eh,
Yay! Love it. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you. Well, we wanted to try to squeeze you in that busy schedule you have over there, being locked in the
Yeah,
house.
all locked in the house all of the time. Yes.
Right. So we have lots of questions. And in fact, I don't well, let me back up. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if we have lots of questions about National Board because I don't know if Olivia or I know enough about it to know what questions to ask.
True. I've
So
gotten bits and pieces over the years as my lovely colleague Miss Hales has been politely elbowing me towards
Oh,
the process. I get a little text message or a winky face here or there. So I know a little bit about the process, but I'm excited to hear Miss Hales kind of lay it out for us tonight. You know, on a basic level, what to do, why to do it, when to do it, all those good things.
sure.
yeah, absolutely. So if we could start with Paula, could you first of all, I guess we should, what is National Board
There you
Certification?
go.
Let's start there.
Uh,
Why don't we start
yeah. Well, you can look at it as twofold that kind of work together. It's incredible professional development. It really makes you focus on what you're teaching and how you're teaching. I know a lot of people do not enjoy that process because you really have to rake yourself over the coals about what are you actually saying to students and what are you actually trying to do. And then the other flip side of that is earning a certification that will get you that raise that the state doesn't seem to want to give us.
Ah,
So,
yes.
you know,
What? What are you talking
yeah,
about? The state doesn't want to give teachers money? You're
no,
crazy. What are you
yeah,
talking about?
who've ever heard of such a thing? Yeah, so, like the professional development side, you can look at it as hoops, kind of like just hoops to jump through, or you can look at it as a very meaningful process to really look at what do you do on a daily basis and how is it impacting your students in the classroom.
Okay.
Awesome.
What do you have to do? What are the requirements as far as, let's say I'm a new teacher and I got my first job, and maybe that's something I do want to look at to go to the next level. What are the requirements for national?
The only requirements are 3 years of teaching experience.
Okay, three
Okay,
years.
so you
So
do
like
have to have a couple years under your belt.
yeah, so like you have to finish 3 years and then you can start at the beginning of your fourth if you'd like.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
And otherwise there's not, and you obviously already have to have your teaching license. So that would be how you would have your 3 years of experience anyway, but that's the bare minimum.
Okay. All right, so
Cool.
let's say I have my 3 years experience or my 23 years of experience, and I'm, um, and I'm gonna take a look at this, national board. What's my first step?
NBPTS.org, National Board Professional Teaching Standards.
Okay,
Uh,
Awesome.
the and that will basically, if you are a visual learner, that will do it for you because you can read all about it. Okay,
Oh, that's
but
neat.
yeah,
no,
if
on pictures.
yeah, if you don't want to read about it, then I think they have some videos that you could download that they kind of talk you through the process. But maybe this podcast will help with, not having to read all of that
For
jargon and
sure.
not really having a
For sure,
clear
this
idea of what in the
absolutely,
world
we
it's
want
even
this
saying.
podcast to be a resource. That's why we want
Yeah.
everyone to like and subscribe. Thank you very
Yes.
much. I had to get that in there. All right,
Like and subscribe down below.
click all the buttons.
Yeah, so that would be the basic
Okay,
part of it.
So I
Yeah.
go to the website, I check out the requirements. I decide that I'm going to do it this year. What do I do? Do I apply? Do I fill out some forms? Is it online? Is it paper based? What's the next step after I check it
Well,
out?
yeah, back in the day, it was all paper based, but now everything is pretty streamlined, all online. And
Okay.
the soon it how you decide to do it really has to do with if you decide to go with all four components in one sitting, or if you're going to break it up. And I'll get into those details. But once you've decided how many components of the four you want to do that year, then that kind of tells you which part of the school year to start your process. Now, nothing official, nothing official opens until January of that year. So you can
okay,
download all the materials, you can be starting on it, you can even start writing, you can start recording, but you don't register or pay any money until between January and February of whatever year it is that you're wanting to submit.
okay. So the
Awesome. So I
actual
think that's a perfect. Sorry, Mr. Basil. Go ahead.
no, that's good. I was gonna say that. So the actual, um, I guess the process after you register it said doesn't start till January. So not everything's starting like at the beginning of the year because I we know what you.
No, no, and that's really only if you're one of those people that you want to just rip the band-aid off and you want to get the whole process over in a year, then you would probably want to start at the beginning of your school year. But if you're only going to do two of the four components, then you wouldn't even have to work on it until January. Um, I was one of those weird people that I did all four components in one year and didn't start on it until January.
Oh,
So
okay.
Wow.
I did everything January through April because it's possible. I mean, you would just have to think of yourself as a full-time college student and you just have to be diligent about keeping up with it.
Okay, as
Cool.
far as the amount of hours and effort involved with
Yeah.
that sort of thing outside the job. Yeah, okay. So you mentioned these components.
Right.
Tell us about those. This kind of everything's broken down into different categories of what you need to do, or let's talk components.
Okay. So if you are a test taker, because everything in this day and age is about taking a test, your test taking is component one.
Okay.
That's all component one is.
Okay.
Uh, the biggest chunk of that one is a multiple choice test,
And what does
which
this
is
test consist of? I'm sorry, you're probably just
uh,
going to say that.
yeah, no, no, no. It can be as basic as little Susie in your sixth grade band class who plays clarinet is squeaking all the time. Which one of the four choices is the most likely reason for her to be squeaking?
Because she's in sixth grade. No.
Right, right. I think it gives you some crazy answers, but then you'll be like, it's because she doesn't have her fingers covering the holes.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Like it's really basic.
Straightforward, common sense.
Yeah, yeah, straightforward, common sense, experience based. answers. But then you
Okay.
also have the crazy stuff in the multiple choice, such as I can't remember very much of this now, but it's almost like you have to uh, analyze a recording in a way, and they have,
Wow.
Mahler's Sixth Symphony, the chord in measure seven. How does that function? Da 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 da. And like the answer is, something ridiculous. I say it's ridiculous. I'm a middle school teacher, but like a German augmented sixth chord. That's what it functions
Right.
as, and you're just like, what am I to?
Sure.
So some of it is kind of up for grabs, but the majority of it really is basic,
So
Okay.
and that's just the multiple choice part.
so it runs the whole gamut. What's the just direct so I can wrap my head around it, this multiple choice thing? Like how many questions is it?
Uh,
Do I do it
I can't.
online?
It seems to change a little bit every year, but the process lays it out so that there's a certain amount of questions in each category. So you'd have some general knowledge, which would be like little Susie Q, why is there clarinet squeaking? That would be considered general content knowledge. And then you also have theory questions to answer, um, world music.
Mm-hmm.
You have to listen to
Oh,
some
okay. Cool.
recordings, and but at least now they give it to you in multiple choice rather than you just having to remember it's a samba whistle, just off the top of your head.
Right. Got you.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
is there any like long answer or short answer or essay portion on the testing part?
That is on a different section.
Okay, well, take us
Yep.
to that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
So
hear it.
still this is in the
Spill it.
testing.
Spill the tea. We want to know.
The testing session. So you have your multiple choice, and that's a timed event. Okay, then in the same setting or the same sitting of the test, then you move on to the next portion, um, which is they give you, I don't remember the order that they all go on, but this is just an example. They give you two musical terms to choose from. And whichever one you choose, then you have to give 5 ways of how you would teach it in your specified situation. So if you wanted to do all of your lesson plans based on middle school band, you would just need to explain that in your essay. And when we say essay, it's not necessarily full sentences that you need. You can do it all in a bullet point, but the directions do a very good job of being very specific of what they want you to answer. And we as band directors just have to be careful that we stay on topic
Ah,
and don't,
yes.
Okay.
go off down a rabbit hole, which is one of the
Right.
dangers and the pitfalls.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So
And just a
maybe
quick
they want
tip.
us. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to throw out there that Miss Hales is our resident local authoritarian on this because she wink wink. Maybe she's not supposed to tell you this, but she scores them, so she knows what to do and what not to do. And like she said, don't go down the rabbit hole. So anytime she mentions those, make sure you jot that down.
Make sure you jot down those suggestions that she gives,
Yep.
right? For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, and this is perfectly. I can talk about it. Any amount that I want. I just have to be. I can't tell you. Well, this year the answers were.
Sure.
So like the things that I'm mentioning.
That'll be a post-show conversation.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
That'll be the
Um,
after show.
Yeah, but so
The
like
after
with
show.
the choices of the musical topics, so maybe they give you the choices of staccato or slurring, and what would be 5 lesson plans that you could do. Those aren't, they're a little bit more complex than that, but so you would have plenty of material to work with, but you would start with, well, in a sixth grade band setting, I would do it this way, or as a high school wind ensemble. That,
Right. I would go
and
about
because
it like this.
yeah, you have to specify what grade level so that as a
Okay.
scorer we can be like, oh
So that
yeah,
you what
Oh,
your
that's
that
situation
appropriate.
is. Right.
Right.
Okay,
that
that makes
makes sense versus, well, I'm in a high school wind ensemble and I'm going to show them how to press the buttons on their instrument.
Sure.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's component one.
Oh yeah,
Let's
and
see,
yeah, but yeah, component one's not done yet though.
what?
Oh,
Okay,
Oh
go
no. Oh no.
more. Let's do this.
Oh yeah, when they're
but
going to
wait.
test you, they're going to test your little socks off. So then there's the composition component.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes. Now that one I think is the most intimidating for everybody, but to me that's the one that you can prepare for the most,
Sure.
because the instructions tell you, like, it's just like kind of like getting your sight reading criteria for MPA. They tell you that it's going to fall in one of these several categories. So if you just at home get yourself like a chord structure going, and you can pump out a little chord structure, then when they throw you the variables of how they want that chord structure presented, then because you only have 30 minutes to do that, to write like
Okay.
but it's only 8 measures. One of the famous examples is just doing a quintet. Like they say, it could be a quintet, write a fight song. Then they give you a key signature and they give you their time signature. And then you already have hopefully prepared your chord structures. And then you're just going to be splitting it up into that. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when we're doing component one, does it go in? I don't know. This might sound like a dumb question, but it's me asking it, so it may be. Anywho, I don't know if that was a compliment or did I did, did I just insult myself? I don't know. Maybe. Okay. Anyway, um, do you have to do component one first? Does it go in
No.
order, or can I choose like?
That's a good question, Mr. Basil.
Thanks.
Well, yeah. No, no. Like component one, the testing window hasn't even opened yet.
Oh.
So, like,
Okay.
I
So
am
if I signed up
scheduled.
for it in January, I still haven't taken it yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And my scoring session currently this year is not scheduled until mid-July. So I
Sure.
think the testing window is going to close June 15th. And I think it runs May 15th to June 15th, or maybe May 1st. Anyway,
Okay.
so you would have conceivably submitted components 2, 3, and 4 already, because those would have been due already.
And
And
then you
then
take your test.
you would
If you're
take your test
if you're
if you're
going to do
doing
all
all of
four
them.
components at one
Yeah.
time, sure.
Yep, yep, yep.
Or you could choose a couple components and save your test for another year.
Yes.
Like a colleague of ours down the road from me, I believe, if I remember correctly, she did 2 and 3 one year and then saved 1 and 4 for the next year or something like that,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
So talk to us about the other components.
Yeah.
All right. Component 2, I can't remember what it's officially called because I automatically think of it as the old ASW
Ah,
type thing, the assessment of student work, if you remember going through that at all. This is a video component where you have to do, it's the same unit at 2 different points of time. So, and
Okay.
there would be 3-minute videos. So you could do 3 minutes of when you're just starting learning a segment, and then a week later do your second segment and show growth, so to speak. But then there's a lot more defining questions throughout that. And that would
okay.
be
Okay. So
component
what
2.
does the
And that's the
score?
large group one, right? Like, so
No,
from a
no,
band, or is that the small group?
that can be either. But
Oh,
you
it can
want
be
it to
either.
be
Okay.
you want that to be, if I remember correctly, that those 2 groups have to be similar.
So it could
This is
be
the
when
similar
I
video.
sight read my MPA music in January and when I play my pre-concert in March, and the same piece, or it could be something like giving a clarinet lesson on articulation, and then a few weeks later giving the same lesson and having the same kid play. So it could be either one of those.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, cool.
So what is the score looking for? Do they give you a list of things that the scorer is looking for when they
Yeah, and
compare the
that's
videos, or
yes, 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 and that's what you read in your directions. Is it basically says, okay, now answer this. But our problem is either you aren't specific enough, or you are very specific on something that has nothing to do with it.
Ah, down the
Or
rabbit hole again.
yes, yes, yes. Or you're so focused on teaching articulation that you never addressed the key signature problem that happened the entire time, but you never mentioned that they were playing B natural and they should have been playing B flat because you were focused on teaching articulation. So you have to
Ah,
like just be able to show that you're teaching your objective, but you are also monitoring and giving correct feedback no matter what's going on.
so you want
okay.
it as real world as possible, right?
Yes.
So, okay.
Right.
It
So
also sounds like,
don't ignore the everyday concepts just because you're making your video for your national boards.
Right. And but see,
Right.
then that's the danger is while you don't want to ignore it, but then people forget that they were supposed to be talking about articulation and they start
Sure.
chasing every, the percussionists in the back that aren't doing what they're supposed to be
Right.
doing. Or, they well, okay, well, fine, you're not going to play a B flat. Well, now we have to play the scale, which has nothing to
Nothing to do.
do with the
Sure.
articulation. So, it's you need to stay right there in the middle
Okay.
for
Great.
yeah.
so it sounds like there's an issue of following directions. Right? Read
Yes.
what they want you to do, and
And
do
do
what they
that.
want you to do. Stay the
And then
course.
don't be like, well, those directions are stupid. There's a better way to do this. And then, hello, you're all surprised when things
Oh
don't turn
no,
out
I
well.
didn't pass my national boards.
Oh,
Right.
no.
Sure.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
So component 2 to me sounds like, I'm trying to wrap my head around this in a nutshell. You're gonna um, basically record you teaching class on 2 separate occasions, and then the score is going to compare those two to see if there was the proper amount of progress.
Well,
Um,
right. And did what you say about it actually happen? Did
Because
you accurately reflect?
in addition to the videos about the two lessons, then there's questions that you have to answer, correct?
Yes, quite a few. Like we're talking like several pages at least
Okay.
of
okay, so
you
there's also
dissecting.
a
Yeah,
written
you have
course, so you're writing about the
you
videos and you're submitting that as
yes.
well.
Yeah, so that
Okay,
if something weird happens in the video, that doesn't mean you have to
you need
scrap
to
the
address.
video. It
Right.
just means that that's an opportunity for you to discuss it in your writing.
Okay, yeah, well, that makes sense. All
Yeah.
right, got you. All right. So anything else about component 2?
If once again, if my memory is doing the right thing, also component two is really focused on student work, which goes along with that ASW type thing. So, um, you are not so important, but the student is. Okay, so
Okay.
yeah,
Yep, yep.
yeah, just make sure you keep the focus on what is the student work going to look like, and that will also help you stay focused.
Okay. That's good. Students, right? Focused on component 2, focus on student.
Yes, yeah,
Very good. All right, that's now I'm starting to in the when we were first talking about the component 1, it was started to be get a little overwhelming a little bit. But now that I see when we're kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of teaching, um, that's starting to I'm starting to feel more comfortable about that. So I hope our listeners are doing that as well, if that
yes,
makes sense to y'all.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully so. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Agreed. So component three.
All right, now component three is more about you. And these videos are, you have to have two of these, and those are 15 minutes each this time. And this is where you need to make them as different as possible because we want to see your versatility, your
Okay.
depth, your breadth of knowledge, not just I'm teaching a clarinet here and I'm teaching the same clarinet. No, no. So, like, this would be what you were talking about, Olivia. This is where maybe you are teaching, I don't know, maybe you're teaching march style in video
Okay.
1 to
Sure.
a full group. And then video 2 could be you really showing off your musicianship in a small setting of clarinet players preparing for all district.
Oh, and
You know,
working
because
on
like that,
solos and
yeah. So
phrasing
you,
or something like that.
yeah, yeah. So you're working on style in a group setting, and then really fine tuning your craft in a small group setting. That would be an example of what you could do.
Okay,
Okay,
so like
so
Tim
you're
was saying,
showing
group
your
two, component two is about your kids, component three is about you.
Yes,
and
Okay.
you are, you're showing your versatility as a teacher.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
And again, with those 15-minute videos, the reflection, the question and answer, the explanation, and really exaggerating on all of that information.
Exactly. And
Cool.
being very careful not to chase, once again, not going off down a rabbit hole, nor this is where I see a lot of, pardon me for picking on you, but the high school band director has a hard time on this one because they think it has to do with a trophy or a rating
Mm,
they received or a trip that they were able to go on. Like they can
sure.
spend a whole page telling the scorer about that. And we're just like,
About the grand champion at the local marching
yeah,
band chorale.
yeah, but
Right.
but how did that help little Timmy B in the percussion section?
Right.
Like that part is completely left out. And so, you're kind of like left with going, yeah, this is about you, but not about you that way. It's about you and how you're being as an effective teacher.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. That's cool. All right.
So, quick recap: one is the test of my content knowledge, two is um, videos and reflection
Of
about
student
uh,
work.
of
Of
student
student
work.
work.
Three is videos and reflection of me and my teaching style and my versatility. So then
Yes.
four is what?
Um, this one is the one that has changed the most. So you would really need to read the specifics here, but I look at it as almost like tracking your professional growth. Like, what have
Okay.
you done for yourself that's going to turn around and help your student? And once again, one of the things that I've seen is, I'm playing lead baritone in the North Carolina Symphony. Well, whoop de doo. How did that help you in the classroom? Like,
Sure.
No
honestly,
offense to the North Carolina Symphony first chair baritone player.
right?
Right.
No, no, no. Like, but if he's going for national boards, he's got to turn that around and say,
And this
well,
has
how is that?
increased my knowledge of how I blah 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 blah.
Yeah, or
Right.
I was playing, this piece with the North Carolina Symphony, and I remember I was teaching my 8th grade baritone player um this, a similar fingering pattern, and I realized, oh my goodness, that is a difficult fingering pattern. This is
Right.
something that I worked out while I was rehearsing with the North Carolina
Okay.
Symphony,
So you
and
gotta
then
make
I
a connection
showed,
there, yeah.
yeah, then I showed my little baritone player Gabe, this is this is how you're going to improve this little section, and then that's how you tie all of it together.
All of that together. Okay.
Yeah.
Now with this component 4, how are you, what's the delivery system there? With the other ones, there was videos and take, or is this component 4, are you just writing, or are there
You're writing, but you
questions
are
or
you're allowed to submit evidence, but it has to
Okay.
be not video evidence. It's more, like maybe it's the program
Okay.
from
From the
where
concert.
you performed. Um,
Sure.
maybe
It's a
it's a
certificate of
picture,
completion of some
yeah,
kind, maybe.
a picture of you participating in said event.
Okay.
Like it gives you like all of the technical guidelines about how to fit it all on the same page and what counts and what doesn't count and that
right,
kind of thing.
okay.
But,
Uh-huh.
like if you're gonna put the picture in there, though, that's going to be what you're writing about.
So I'm just kind of thinking through because I know I've been getting a polite nudge to do this. Um, what kind of time frame is there on this development? For instance, sat through a webinar with Richard Saucedo the other week about providing musical clarity when you're designing a marching band program, and that would have obvious would benefit the marching band that we run in a very positive way. Could I use that if I were to apply to do my national boards next year? So what kind of time frame are you looking at on those things?
I know that anything that you write, you only have a 1-year time limit. But I
Okay.
believe your experience, your personal growth experience, can be more than a year in
Okay.
arrears.
Cool.
Yeah. Especially if you're really able to tie it in. Because I mean, if I experience something in 2015 that still impacts me today, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
But if you were to start writing it and then you stopped, and then if more than a year elapses, then you would technically have to like scrap
Pick a
all of that
new.
and start
You have to
again.
start
Yeah,
over.
Sure.
technically,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's say from beginning to end, what's the time frame of completing the entire process, like all four
You
components?
you have 3 years
Oh, okay.
Okay.
to complete the process, but that also includes retakes.
So,
So,
so you
you can,
could do it quicker if you wanted to, or you could
yes.
spread it out if you needed to.
Right. So, like, like Olivia, you were mentioning our colleague, she did two components and two components. So that took 2 years, but then
Sure.
that gave her a
One more
backup
year.
year to, if she needed to redo a component, she would have
Okay.
time before having to start the whole thing over. And your, so that's how long you have to do it. Now, once you've earned it, it's good for 5 years. So your 5 years doesn't start until after you have,
Completed the whole thing.
after you've achieved. So it's not like your 5 years starts like if you're going to do two components, your 5 year didn't start when you started. It's when you achieve.
Cool. And just a quick
Okay.
blurb, Ms.
Well, that
Hales
makes
was mentioning retakes. So once you submit it, they score it and you get a score back. And if your score is not high enough, then you can retake it in those 3 years. Is that correct, Ms. Hales?
Yes.
Okay.
And probability and percentage wise, your biggest pieces of the pie, so to speak, all four components are not created equal.
Sure.
It's not
okay.
25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. Your main course is actually component one.
I see.
Component one
Okay.
counts the most. And out of all of the things that we talked about, component one, your biggest contributor to your score out of component one is actually the multiple choice. So you also
Okay.
have to realize
Mhm.
that while you're freaking out about part writing, it's 6%
Sure.
of your total component one score. So you could totally bomb it and still pass component one.
Right.
So, just keep that in mind. Your other big component is component three. Component three is the next largest percentage, and then your least,
That's the 15-minute
yeah,
videos concentrating on yourself, right? Component 3.
yes, and
Okay.
then your least uh, contributing factors are component two and component four.
Huh. Okay.
And they give you a pie chart in your directions as you're reading through it. Um, It isn't exactly obvious though. I mean, because nowadays with all of this digital stuff, a lot of links are embedded. So if you don't click on the link, it's not going to take you to that information. So sometimes when you're reading and you see the little highlighted text and you're like, oh, I'll come back to it. Well, you missed it. Okay. So, you would just have to
Okay.
go in there
So
and just kind of track it down.
next little secret free hint from National Board Paula is click all the links. Click
Yes.
all the links. Got it. Write it down. Click all of the links.
Click. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Got you.
Awesome. That's great information, Miss Hales. We really appreciate it. I know Mr. Spell and I need to get down to the nitty gritty and just do it,
Yes.
because that
Yes.
12% would certainly be nice. And Mr. Basil, I don't know your plan for this evening, but I feel like we could have a national boards part two and just talk about the scoring and the process of submission and all that good stuff too.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, that I think that would be a lot of really good information for anyone interested in doing that.
Oh
It
yeah.
sounds to me like if I were going to do it, would this be a good idea? If there's four components, maybe take because you have to teach your day job too, right? While you're doing
Yes.
this, um, would maybe like one component each semester, and have it do have the four components take 2 years, and then have that third year if you need it. Um, does that sound like an awesome idea?
Uh, oh
Does that
yeah,
sound like
yeah.
the best idea
I
you've ever
kind of
heard before?
see. I kind of see it more. It works. It allows you to work better with your own individual home life. Like, what are you able? What do you have time? So, like Olivia, with your younger children, I would
Sure.
suggest to you, yes, two components, two components.
Right.
I,
Yeah. Spread it
unless
out as
unless
much as we can. Yeah.
unless you and Ryan decide to do it together. And if you're going to do it together, you might as well go ahead and do all four. Otherwise, it's less likely that you'll kill each other then. Short amount of time, just yank
Sure.
the band-aid off. And
Right.
then Tim, with your girls being older, I would advise you to go ahead and do the whole thing in 1 year.
Okay, yeah,
It just, what do you have time? And honestly, think back to yourselves in college. What kind of a student were you? Were you a person
right.
who were able to pump out a lot of writing at the last second? Or were you a person who are very strategic and metered in your writing? I was a last minute person, so I actually was able to type my entire national board submission over spring break. Now, I had it all ready to go, but
Right.
I I did it in a week of typing. But that's the way
That's
my
the way
brain
your
works.
brain works. See,
Yeah.
now my
Sure.
strategy, my my college strategy for writing would not work in this situation because my strategy in college for writing was to get my grade up as high as it needed to be able to pass the class without submitting the essay. So,
Ah,
but like as you can see in this instant was the national boards that probably wouldn't work.
Yeah.
probably
What
not.
kind of college student I was, I think that is a whole nother podcast conversation.
I don't know if we want to publish that type of information, especially thinking about myself, but hopefully I'm a little more mature now than I was
Sure.
then. But
Oh, well,
Absolutely.
another consideration is how do you want to pay for it?
oh
You
yeah,
know,
Oh, yes.
I forgot
like
that's
that's
always the last
also
thing
another
to
thing.
think about.
Yeah, like so if you can apply, like they have like a really nice process. You can apply for a low interest loan that will pay for the entire process. Like you can do that in January. They loan you the money. Then the idea is you've done all four components. Then when you've achieved in December and you get all that back pay, you could pay off your loan and be done.
Hmm.
I see.
So,
Okay.
yeah, that's a really good plan to have. Otherwise, you would be basically paying, it's not 500, but I just round it to 500. Basically 500 a component. It's a little bit less than that, but so you would also have to think about that. Do you want to pay,
Okay.
$1,000 2 years in a row, or do you want to just do one low interest loan and get it all done in a year? So that's another
Sure.
thing to think about.
Sure. And
Hmm.
then I think there's also taking a look at, well, whatever state you're teaching in and looking at your pay schedule and seeing what the difference in salary is going to be. not board certified versus board certified, because I'm sure it's different in every state.
Yes, because there are
Um,
states that don't do
that
anything extra for national board
Right, and
teachers.
that versus a master's degree. Right now, hopefully it'll change one day, but right now in North Carolina, there's no bonus or incentive in our pay for a master's degree. Um,
Yeah, if
we,
you haven't already earned it, yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right,
there's
which I
no
think would lead
incentive
a
to
lot of people
start
to
it now.
look at the national board route. Yeah,
Yeah, and that would be the other reason why I would encourage everyone to do this sooner rather than later, because with all the cuts and all of the craziness happening, I mean, if you earn your raise now, then they can't take it away. You would be grandfathered in versus, oh, I'm going to work on it next year, but then that's the year that they decide not to honor it anymore, and then you're kind of stuck.
sure, right, gotcha. That's good strategy. All right. Well, thank you, Miss Hales. Before we wrap things up, we were wondering if you could give us from a scorer's perspective, if you could maybe go down and give us a little list of do's and don'ts, things that you've seen people do that would just kill their score, or things that people do that are fantastic. Maybe give us a little list of do's and don'ts when submitting your national board stuff.
Okay. Well, it's not really anything that I you would definitely be penalized for, but people just don't uh, seem to value always being organized in your writing. Um, the national, like if you print out the national board directions, you're going to have a 3-ring binder full that's probably at least an inch thick. Just follow the format. Don't try to recreate the wheel. Just answer the questions in the order that you see them, and don't try to be overly creative. It's not that you're going to
Okay.
be penalized for that, but you also just have to remember that the scoring atmosphere that we are dealing with, you know, I try to be as fresh and as, open-minded as I possibly can with every submission that comes in. When I've had 5 submissions to read that I've had to dig for the answers because it's not all laid out, that can be frustrating. So
So
just my biggest thing would be, please just you use the format.
so they
Just
list the questions in a certain order for a reason. Follow the
yes.
format.
Yes, and
Be
if you want to be that, the only creativity you should really get into is bold texting the question that you're answering. You could, bold text it at the beginning of the paragraph, answer the question. And then, just as a scorer, it just makes the flow of everything that we're looking for just so much more relaxed and easier to find versus feeling like we're fighting uphill the whole time. Looking for, trying to give you every ounce of credit, but we can't find it versus you've displayed it all beautifully. And all we have to do is just go through and inspect it and just be like, well done, versus it, being buried under a pile of dirty laundry.
Got you. So
Perfect.
that's another Paula tip. Bold the question.
Question.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Organize
Yeah.
your
That
writing.
Write that down. Bold the
yes.
question.
Yeah, that is totally legal. I mean, please do it. You don't have to do it. Absolutely not. But please do it.
Cool.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yes. Yes.
Because you never
Well,
know,
Absolutely.
wherever you are listening to us, Paula might score your component one day.
you never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Well, what's it like? All component 1 and all component 3 all come to Raleigh.
Oh, there you go. All of component one, all
Ah,
of
So
component
yeah.
three.
So
Paula is judging you.
anybody in the country who takes
That's so
component 1 or
cool.
component 3, it comes to
really?
Raleigh. Component 4 goes to Virginia Beach, and component 2 goes to Chicago.
Oh, well, there you
Okay.
go. Fun
So,
facts for today.
so hit up your friends in Virginia Beach. Hit up your friends in Chicago. You know somebody who knows
Yep.
somebody.
We got
who
you in North
teaches in
Carolina.
Chicago, North
That's
Carolina, Virginia Beach, Chicago. Take
Very
these
cool.
notes.
yeah.
Look, you do what you got to do. It's you when you go for the same thing is, and this is a Tim tip. When you go to interview, you find out the school colors, and if you're a guy, you wear that color tie. If you go to home of the Pirates and purple and gold, you wear a purple tie to the interview. That's the
That's
little
funny because I think I wore red to my interview at Corinth.
no. Red is a power color.
Yeah,
You
buddy.
gotta look these things up.
Oh my goodness.
Miss Hale,
You
this
guys are crazy.
information is well, it's super valuable because it's coming from not only you that you have your national board and that you went through the process, but also from the angle of being a scorer and knowing mistakes that people make and pitfalls to watch out for and that those sorts of things. So we
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
you. We appreciate your time and your information, and thank you for hanging out with us today.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I had fun.
Is there anything else that you
Awesome.
would like to add before we take off today?
No, just that all the information I have given you, honestly, is all in off the website. It
Maybe
isn't
Mr.
like I
Basil, could
just.
you Mr. Basil, could you put that website down below
I will
when you
put the
post this video?
website down below, and yes, and when you go to our YouTube channel, teaching band from the beginning, we'll put that down in the description. Also, could you remind us one more time, Miss Hales?
NBPTS, National Board
And
Professional Teaching Standards.
Quarter
dot
888. Sorry.
Yes.
dot what?
NBPT.
Dot
.org?
dot org. Yeah.
All right, we have to say it one more time. And
NBPTS.org.
We're all band people here. Everybody was
and
thinking it. I
it's
just
really
said
late,
it.
so we appreciate it. Miss Hales, once again, thank you. Olivia,
It's been fun.
been fun.
Oh yeah.
Nighty night.
Good
Get some
night. Thanks for
rest.
having me.
Don't let the
Anytime.
coronavirus bite.
Oh my goodness. Out.
Later.
Later.